Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nittai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nittai Gaura Haribol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembly Bhutis. Karantaran Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nastapreshu Abhadreshu Nittam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 13, Rahugana converses with Jat Bharat. Text number 9. Kvajin nigirno jagaradhina jano navaiti kinchit vipina padita Navaiti kinchit vipine bhavidha. Dashtasma shetikva chadanda shukair. Ando anda kupe patitastamishre. Kvajindigirno chagarahina jano. Navaiti kinchit vipine pavidha. Dashtasma shete kvachadanda shudhair. Ando anda kupe patitastamashre. Kvajindigirno chagaradhina jano. Navaiti kinchit vipine pavidaha. Dashtasma shetikva chadanda sukair. Ando andaku pepatitastamishre. Kvachinigirno chagaradhina jano. Navaiti kinchit vipine pavidaha. Dashtasma shete kvachadanda sukair. Andananda kube patitastamishre. Nigirno chagaradina jano. Navaiti kinchit vipine pavidaha. Dashtasma shete kvachadanda sukair. Andon dandangve patitastamishre. Madaji. Vajinigirno chagaradhina jano. Navaiti kinchit vipine pavidaha. Dashtasma sete kvachadanda sukair. Andonda gupe patitastamishre. Kvajinigirno chagaradhina jano. Navaiti kinchit vipine pavidaha. Dashtasma shete kvachadanda sukair. Ando nanda kupidastamashre. Kvachit. Sometimes. Nigirna, being swallowed. Achagara ahina. By the great snake known as the python. Janaha, the conditioned soul. Na, not. Avaiti, understands. Kinchit, anything. Vipine, in the forest. apavidaha, pierced by the arrows of suffering. Dashta, being bitten. Sma, indeed. Shete, lies down. Kwaja, sometimes. Danda sukai, by other kinds of snakes. Anda, blind. Andakupe, in a blind well. Patitaha, fallen. Tamishre, in a hellish condition of life. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The conditioned soul in the material forest is sometimes swallowed by a python or crushed. At such a time, he is left lying in the forest like a dead person, devoid of consciousness and knowledge. Sometimes other poisonous snakes bite him. Being blind to his consciousness, he falls down into a dark well of hellish life with no hope of being rescued. Please repeat after me. The conditioned soul in the material forest is sometimes swallowed by a python or crushed. At such a time, he is left lying in the forest like a dead person, devoid of consciousness and knowledge. Sometimes other poisonous snakes bite him. Being blind to his consciousness, he falls down into a dark well of hellish life with no hope of being rescued. Purport. When one becomes unconscious due to being bitten by a snake, one cannot understand what is taking place outside of the body. This consciousness condition is the condition of deep sleep. Similarly, the conditioned soul is actually sleeping on the lap of the illusory energy. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung, Kata Nidraja O Maya Pisachira Koli. O living entity, how long will you sleep in this condition on the lap of the illusory energy? People do not understand that they are actually sleeping in this material world, being devoid of knowledge of spiritual life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Enechi ausadhi maya nasibara lagi, Harinam Mahamantra Lao Tumi Magi. I have brought medicine to awaken every living being from perpetual sleep. Please receive the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and awaken. The Kathopanishad 1.3.14 also says, Uttishta Jagrata Prapyavaran Nibodhata. O living entity, you are sleeping in this material world. Please get up and take advantage of your human form of life. The sleeping condition means loss of all knowledge. In Bhagavad Gita 2.6.9, it is also said, Ya nisha sarvabhutanam tasyam chagarti samyami. What is the night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled. Even in the higher planets, everyone is under the spell of the illusory energy. No one is really interested in the real values of life. The sleeping condition called Kala Sarpa, the time factor, keeps the conditioned soul in a state of ignorance, and therefore pure consciousness is lost. In the forest, there are many blind wells, If one falls down in one, there is no chance of being rescued. In a state of sleep, one remains perpetually bitten by some animals, especially snakes. The conditioned soul in the material forest is sometimes swallowed by a python or crushed. At such a time, he is left lying in the forest like a dead person, devoid of consciousness and knowledge. Sometimes other poisonous snakes bite him. Being blind to his consciousness, he falls down into a dark well of hellish life with no hope of being rescued. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Jakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Patakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagriyatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vikashatam Sita He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Chakatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutti Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpadrubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna, this is a very instructive conversation between Jat Bharat and King Rahugana. Jat Bharat, being a self-realized soul, explains the mystery or the knowledge of Krishna consciousness to King Rahugana. And here in this chapter, he uses a very nice example to explain the position of the conditioned soul being in this material world, entrapped in a material body and covered with material consciousness. The example which is given here is forest. So what a forest looks like and what is the circumstances which we will find if we enter into a forest. Generally, forest has a lot of trees and is a rather dark place where it's sometimes difficult to get the right orientation, where to go. As well as in the forest, there are many wild animals, ferocious animals, which may be a dangerous or cause a dangerous situation to the living entity being in there. So this is the situation of the living entity having come to the material world. So each and every living entity is actually facing these kinds of challenges. Being exposed to different ferocious animals and encountering many other tribulations. It has been described that there are also dacoits or plunderers in this forest with the number of 6, which has been compared to the 6 senses, which actually drag the living entities' consciousness towards the sense objects, and in that way bewilder in illusion the living entity about his real identity and his real state of consciousness, as well as there are different ferocious animals like jackals, wolves and lions, which actually have been compared to the family members and other relatives who take advantage, or to be most straight, to exploit the living entity, demanding different facilities, and in that way also bewilder the living entity about his real position in this material world. Here especially, the point has been made that sometimes there is also the encounter of snakes. And as we know, if somebody is bitten by a poisonous snake, he actually loses consciousness. This has been taken here as the example of the state of the living entity in the material world. He's actually lost his pure consciousness and falling into sleep or deep sleep. In the Vedas, there actually has been the description given of 3 states of consciousness, namely Jagarat, means awaken, Swapna, dreaming, and Shushupti, deep sleep. These are the consciousness, states of consciousness, which a living entity encounters in this material world. Being awake, being active, everybody knows. The living entity, having taken a material body, engages the body in different kind of activities on the material plane, which is Jagrat, in the wakened state. Then during night, there is dreaming, Swapna. That has been performed with the subtle body, thinking, feeling, willing. At that time, the living entity envisions different happenings. It also has been said that the dreaming state actually is the recollection of different experience the living entity encounters during his wake state. And then the third state, Shushupti, meaning deep sleep, is actually where he loses complete consciousness. Deep sleep means he is not aware, he is not in that way active on the material plane. Prabhupada points out that out of these 3, the first 2 is actually the engagement, or rather say the illusory engagement of the spirit soul on the gross platform, and in awakened state, being active through the gross body, and in the dreaming state, he is active on a subtle body. But then in deep sleep, he is actually inactive. But still, it's been considered to be illusory, material. But above that, above Susupti, which Prabhupada mentions to be the highest state, or a higher state than the others, there is actually Suddha Sattva, the state of Krishna consciousness, where the living entity connects with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in that way, transcends this bodily identification, which is compared to a dream. This material existence many times has been compared as a dream. That's why, as Prabhupada quotes in his purport, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung Jeev Jago, Gaura Chandra Bole, Kota Nidra Jagamaya, Pisachire Kole. So wake up, spirit soul. Wake up means from what? We consider being active on the material plane that we are conscious and not sleeping. But in a higher sense, in the spiritual sense, we are actually sleeping on a mat, on the lap of Maya, thinking ourselves to be this body, to be American, Swiss, black and white, male or female, small or tall, happy or distressed. But these are actually all illusory concepts of material conditioning. So Krishna consciousness means to rise to the transcendental platform, realizing this state as being an illusory state. The comparison by Bhaktivinoda Thakur has been given as Pisachi. Who knows what Pisachi means? The literal meaning. In the purport, Prabhupada just mentions material energy. Pisachi means witch. And in the Indian understanding, what does a witch does? A witch sucks blood. And it has been explained that blood, what is the meaning of blood? Blood means energy, life's energy. So, and this sucking of the life's energy of the living entity is actually done through the sexual energy. That has been explained that the driving force in this material world is actually the attraction of the opposite sex. That Hare Krishna, Govinda Tata Prabhu, welcome. Hare Krishna. This has been described as the driving force and also the most difficult tribulations in the material world. This Maituna, this connection, Pumsastriya Maitunadi, is actually formed into a knot in the heart, Hridaya Granthis. And that knot is causing our attachment to this material world. Atagriha kshetra sutapta vitayar janasya mo'ayam aham mameti. This attraction for the opposite sex actually expands into griha, means household. One marries, starts a family. Griha kshetra, one acquires some land. Sutta, there are children. Apta, relatives. And vitayar, opulences, possessings. And in that way, one starts to condition oneself more and more, and starts to identify with the material body and whatever is in connection to it. And that builds up that illusion, janasya moha ayam, aham mameti, finally culminating that we think in the terms of I, meaning my body, and my, whatever is connected to the body is mine. Jai Jagannath Baladev, Jai Subhadra Maharani Ki Jai. And in that way, we actually fall in a dark well. This has been explained here, that being blind to his consciousness, meaning that consciousness of identifying with the body, building up the extensions of the body, meaning griha, kshetra, sutapta, vitayar, one falls down in a dark well, in another, which means actually a hellish condition. And another part of Srimad Bhagavatam, that dark well also has been described as hitvam patam. What was that? Hitvam patam andakupam. Meaning by neglecting the intention of the real intention and position of the living entity as being a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality, completely spiritual, and being meant to serve Him, losing that hitvatma patam, that knowledge, one actually falls in that andakupam, in that blind, dark well. So why blind? A well is actually meant to have water, and the living entity, thirsty of water, goes into that dark well. But in that blind, dark well, there is no water. So he actually ends up being caught in a well and tribulated by promises of satisfaction, but actually not being fulfilled, and in that way suffers continuously a hellish condition of life. So this is actually the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, message of Bhagavad Gita towards the living entity, to understand his position and not being directed or misled, being attracted by different objects of sense gratification, and in that way pulled in the wrong direction. Many times the example has been given as the wanderer in the desert. The desert is naturally a very unpleasant place to be. It is hot and there is no vegetation. But naturally, living entity being craving for water, being thirsty, looks for a source where he can quench his thirst. And then sometimes there is illusory manifestation of an oasis. It's called Fata Morgana, and the living entity, the thirsty person, runs after it, but finally ends up in nowhere and perishes in a very unfortunate situation, being run in the wrong direction. So in a similar way, this material world is that desert place which showing the living entity different attractions of Fata Morganas, meaning showing or attracting the living entity with different objects which supposed to give pleasure and satisfy, but in fact they actually direct the living entity in the complete opposite way, and finally lead the living entities to enter the eternal circle of samsara, of life, and that being born again and again in different forms of these 8,400,000 bodies, and through that just wanders to the different species of life. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. Prabhupada also makes the point in the purport that even on the heavenly planets, there is still that illusion prevalent about the living entity's position. In that way, there is a very beautiful description. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur once told a story about a fancy landlord wanting to see the sun during a full moon night. So there was once a landlord, very fancy, very wealthy, who was surrounded by sycophants. Sycophants means Schmeichler, people who just say sweet words in order to get some profits out of you. So he had that funny idea to want to see the sun. So there were some sycophants who came forward and brought him a big lantern and said, look, can you see now the sun? But it was not possible. So then there were some others who brought up the opinion, no, we need much more, let's bring, crores of candles. And they tried to light up crores of candles in order to see the sun during night. But then the very smart ones, scientists, came and said, no, this is much too little. We need powerful electric lights. So they arranged for electric lights, but still, it was not possible. Then there was some considerate person amongst all these sycophants who actually said, look, it won't be possible to see the sun during a full moon night. because you only can see the sun when it rises, and the sun rises by its own will. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains the purport of this, that this is the state of nowadays world. You have so many smart, intelligent persons, scientists, who try to find out the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual master and the Vaishnavas is very interesting. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur makes that point. It's not only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but it's also the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, Try to make them visible, the spiritual form. But he makes the point that is not possible by any kind of empirical endeavor or intellectual gymnastic. It is only possible by the mercy of themselves, meaning only through the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the mercy of the spiritual master and the mercy of the Vaishnavas, we will actually be able to perceive the spiritual nature, to understand the true form of the absolute truths and its relations in it. So we have to actually, first of all, recognize our situation being captured in this dark forest, sometimes even being caught in the dark well, the blind well. And then, by understanding our situations, the example has also been given that if you have fallen into a dark well, you can't really exit by your own endeavor. You need somebody who actually pulls you out, literally meaning who gives you a rope, and then he can, by catching the rope, we will be able to leave that dark well and come into the daylight, leaving that dark forest, coming to the spiritual understanding of our real position as being a spiritual spark, spiritual infinitesimal small part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and being meant as a part to serve the whole. And in that way, all our desires, which were before illusory, projected into different objects of the sensual world, all that happiness which we were hoping to find, there actually will be fulfilled by being engaged in the devotional service, in our constitutional position as part of the Supreme. And in that way, we actually will reach the goal of the human life, being reinstated in our constitutional position as the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Any comments? Questions? Tige.
I remember Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he explained our philosophy. He told some relationship between spiritual master and disciple. Some Vaishnavas accept this like cat and small children of cat.
Kitten.
And kitten. And kitten, he just surrendered to cat, and cat catch this kitten and put to another place. He completely carried about disciple. Another Vaishnavas accept this relationship like monkey and also small monkey. So monkey go, and small monkey should come for his mother. Otherwise, he just go. He don't carry it. So it means some disciple should hold his spiritual master. His spiritual master not so much carry it. But our philosophy, it's like somebody fell down in well, and spiritual master give rope, and disciple should wake up. And when he not wake up, how to say?
Climb up.
Yeah, climb up. And when he climb up, he also should give rope to another living entity. So it's remind me this well. So I want to share a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, with this example, it is mentioned that we have to do both. We have to understand that the Spirit Master will catch us if we are in difficulty. At the same time, the Spirit Master is going ahead. He's running behind Krishna. So we have to catch also the chadar of the Spirit Master and go behind him. So we have to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Spirit Master. So both have to be there. We depend on Krishna or the Spirit Master, but we have to endeavor also. Just like in Krishna Lila, Maria Yashoda, she's binding Krishna. So she had to endeavor, but that was not enough. Then she needed the mercy also. And then she could bind Krishna. So it is both ways actually. We have to endeavor also, and then we need the mercy also. So that is there. Putting the rope down, that is the mercy, and is pulling us up. But then after we have to endeavor. That is just like the small baby monkey has to hold to the mother. And so we have to hold to the Spirit Master, his lotus feet, his instructions. So we have to follow both actually. We have to do both. We depend on the mercy of Hari Guru Vaishnava, and then we have to endeavor also to advance. And then we can get the mercy. If we don't even endeavor, we will not get the mercy. Or even when the rope, sometimes it is mentioned also, somebody will put the rope inside and they will say, hey, here the rope is there. And then the person has to catch the rope. He will say, okay, what shall I do with the rope? So you have to catch the rope also. And then you have to hold to the rope. And then you can be pulled out. So the mercy is there, but we have to endeavor also. Both have to be there. So that is the complete understanding. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Yeah, actually, it also came to my mind, there is also that incident, that of the silly disciple, like the spiritual master, out of his causeless mercy, he extends himself, he throws the rope. But then, like if you're in the position, they said, oh, well, I'm so weak, can't you please come? And we have to make that endeavor, to catch the rope very tightly, meaning that that which has been given, that mercy, also to take full advantage of that mercy. First, as it has been said, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasada Bhai, Bhakti Lata Beach. So first, Krishna gives us the mercy through his revealed scriptures, and at the same time he arranges for the spiritual master. When the living entity is ready, serious enough, Krishna will send his representative. But then, we also have to take advantage of that mercy from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, especially through the extension of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Spiritual Master, which personally comes to give us personal instruction, to take full advantage and take it to the heart, as we sing in the morning, to make the teachings, the words of the Spiritual Master, our life and soul. Hare Krishna. Very good point.
Also very important, of course, mercy is very important, but then the endeavor is very important. Endeavor of the devotee. Just again, sometimes you see in India, they know the Spiritual Master is there, the great personalities. We need his blessings. Please bless us. And then they touch the feet. Okay, now I'm blessed. Or they get some Mahaprasad or something. And then now we are blessed. But then, they're not following the instruction. The main thing is actually to follow the instruction. And then you tell them, chant Hare Krishna. I don't have time now. So what you have to endeavor. You have to chant. You have to follow the instruction. Simply touching the feet is not enough. So but we have to follow the instructions of the Spiritual Master. Chanting the holy names. So the endeavor is very important. The mercy is there, but then the endeavor has to be there. And then we'll be successful. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You have a question?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for your lecture. Whenever this topic of falling into the blind well is arising, then I'm kind of scared of going there, and maybe you can say something about it, like when we see that we are about to entering this dark well, and if we see that others are doing actually what we should do.
We are already in that dark well. You think, sometimes the understanding is, I think you're relating to getting married.
Yeah, in this case it's family life.
Family life, yeah. You see, we have to understand it's the main importance is not the external appearance. The main importance is our attachment internally. So, the main danger, or actually the real understanding of the dark well, is the misunderstanding of, or the misidentification with the material body and the material mind. And it just has been described that in married life, in household life, it might be a greater challenge to realize that than in a brahmachari ashram, vamnaprastha, or sannyas. But then our understanding is that what Srila Prabhupada taught us is to actually transcend these designations which comes with this Varnashram Dharma, because the system of Varnashram Dharma is, in that sense, tinged with the material concept. It's connected to the material world. But for a devotee who strives for pure Krishna consciousness, he has to transcend that understanding. But that at the same time, for most of us, as Prabhupada also said, that we'll have to go through that. And there is no harm. Because finally, whatever helps us to overcome or to reach that state of consciousness of being a pure spirit soul, not identifying, neither with the gross nor with the subtle body. In one portion, Prabhupada actually makes that point, that thinking, feeling, willing is actually the subtle body, mental speculation. He makes that point also in connection to the 3 states of consciousness, meaning Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti, meaning awake, dreaming and deep sleep. So a devotee has to even overcome that and rise to the transcendental platform of Vishuddha Sattva or Vasudeva Sattva, which Prabhupada makes it clear means that connect everything with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is actually the essence. Rite artam yat pratyeta na pratyeta chatmani tat vidyatat manomaya yatha vasho yatha tamaha. Whatever has no connection with me, but seems to be of value, know it that it has no value, Brahma says. So that is our understanding. Or to cut it short, don't be too much focused on whether to be in merit, or entering the household or staying brahmachari. If that helps, does that help? Any comment? Mukunda Datta. Say, please enlighten us.
Yeah, actually we have to understand to become a pure devotee is not easy. And yes, so pure devotional service is not so easily attained. And therefore Prabhupada also mentioned that you made the point, before he left this world, I have done 50% of my work. I've established temples and he's established the most important activities, chanting the holy names, hearing the scriptures, worshipping the deities, giving facility we can associate with the devotees. So giving the principles of pure devotional service. And then he said, but 50% is left. That is establishing Varna Ashram. Because if Varna Ashram is not there, then actually it will be difficult, because only the minority of the conditioned souls, they're qualified for pure devotional service, because it takes time to become a pure devotee. Usually there's a process of lifetimes. But Prabhupada encouraged the devotees, yes, in one lifetime you should try to become perfect. It is possible if your last life you already practiced, but if you are new to the process, it will take some time, a few lifetimes. So then we can see practically also even in our society, everyone has difficulties. The brahmacharis, how many remain brahmacharis? Because it's not easy. And then they get married. And even sannyasis, they have difficulties that we have seen in our society. Even now it is happening. They have difficulty. So what to speak then, if one is not so qualified, then one will enter the grihastashram, but then one has to try to be engaged in devotional activities all the time. But this is a kind of, that's why the grihastashram is there, and we have to be positive. It is there so that the man needs a wife and the wife needs a men in conditioned life, and so that they don't go here and there and with illicit activities, so therefore Grihastha ashram is there. So they can gradually advance in a Grihastha ashram, and then they will be vanaprasth, and then be more dedicated. And so it is a gradual development, so it is a great help. And if Krishna is in the center, you have deities at home, you invite the devotees, then it is fine. Also we have to see the different qualities are there, like so, for vana and for ashram. So very rare to find a real brahmachari, even now in our society, even in general, very rare. Sannyas even more rare. And so, but therefore it is more safe to be in Grihastha ashram usually, that is mentioned also. But then you can see, for example, then the 4 varnas are there. Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya and Brahmana. So usually the Shudras, they need to get married, they have to be married. And for them it is, and then there's some enjoyment there, and they may not be able to be so spiritually inclined, and even in our society we can see. And therefore Prabhupada wanted Varnashram. Some people, they come to our society, but then it is too difficult to be in the ashram or to chant 16 rounds, then they chant a little less. But they should be encouraged in that line to do as much as possible, and then they can get married, they do some work or whatever. And Vaishyas, they make some business or take care of the land or the cows. So they usually also have to get married, because they're not yet so highly qualified. And the Kshatriyas also, and they're there, they're more strong. But for them also it will be difficult to be single. But only those who are Brahmanically inclined, for them it may be easy, more easy to be single, because they're absorbed in the absolute truth. And even for them it might not be possible, and then they get married. But for them it is easier to be properly situated and make advancement, if they're householder also. Then for many of them, then it is not a problem. Like many of Mahaprabhu's associates, they were householders, and they were absorbed. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was a householder. Vane take, grihe take. You may be in the forest or in the house, but whatever you have, you offer to Krishna, so that you can do as a householder also, and then you can advance. Whereas if one is a brahmachari, but he's not really a brahmachari, then he will also not make so much advancement. He will be disturbed. Even sannyasis. And we have seen in our society how many sannyasis they fell. So it is not easy, that is the point. And we have to understand our condition, our position, and we try our best to make as much advancement as possible in this lifetime. But then for the general mass of people, it is just natural to be Grihastha. The Brahmanas are in minority, and the Brahmacharis and the Sannyasis are also in minority. And they are the only one who actually can be properly absorbed in the Lord without the association of the opposite sex. So it is very rare. But then if we are positive and we try our best, and even in the household ashram, then we can advance. So therefore we should be positive, and it is fine to be a householder. And therefore one may encourage, but do it in the proper way. Then as a householder, and the main thing also there, you have to be in sadhu sangha, in the association of the devotees who are more advanced. And then we can be also safe as a householder. You do what the sadhu is saying, what the spiritual master is saying. You have his association, you hear about Krishna sufficiently, and then you can do your chanting nicely, your deity worship nicely, and you can be quite safe even as a householder. So that is there. So for those who are conditioned, actually association of those who are highly advanced. I just read a quote yesterday by Bhaktivinoda Thakur that the main thing is actually sadhu sangha. In the beginning, unless you are highly advanced, you have to have the good association, then you can advance. And then you can do your devotional service. And it may be brahmachari or it may be a grihastha. If a brahmachari is there, he doesn't have the association of the spiritual master, then it's difficult. Householder also, so you have to have a good association. And then we can advance to some extent. And then we can become perfect also. And as we say also, Grihastashram, and then after is Vanaprastha also. Because in Grihastashram, then you have to deal with so many materialistic people, and then the children are there. You have to come to the level of the children. The children is saying, I want to play. And then you can see the parents, they speak like the children with the children. Because that's what they understand. And then it's maybe difficult to be on a higher level. But, when they grow up, then you can speak to them about Krishna consciousness, and then you can go through it, and then afterwards is Vanaprastha, if possible. And two kinds of Vanaprastha. One is who is going alone, the householder, and the wife is there with the family. And the second one, the wife is following the husband in the forest also. Oh, of course. Now where you can go in the forest. Even you want to go to Vrindavan, there's no forest anymore there. There's so many buildings there. But so it is there so that gradually we can advance. And if we do properly, then we will advance, and Krishna is merciful. But we have to understand it will take time to become perfect. But if Krishna is the center, we have good association, we try our best, and we can advance.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, also one thing we should consider, that it shouldn't be artificial. Naturally, spiritual life means, actually human life means tapasya. But then at the same time, we also have to understand we can't progress tangibly if we are not satisfied in our position. That's what Bhagavad Gita also says. We have to be satisfied, meaning being in a mode of goodness in order to progress. So the main point is we should be truthful to ourselves. Don't make a show. And as we said in the beginning, everything depends on the mercy of Krishna and his devotees, spiritual master, meaning sadhu sangha. So
also in the Grihastashram there are samskars, purificatory rites. Different ceremonies are there to purify the consciousness of the family, then the children who come. So again, there also to put Krishna in the center. So these rites are there, and then invoking the mercy of Guru Gauranga and Krishna. And in this way, the help is there from Guru Gauranga and Krishna. By being in the Grihastashram and following the samskars. So therefore we have to follow Vanashram, and then we have to follow the injunctions of the Acharya, like Prabhupada has mentioned, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami has mentioned the samskars for purification. And even Krishna's parents and Mahaprabhu's parents, they were doing the different samskars just to set the example for others that it should be done. So in this way then purification will be there in the Grihastashram also. So
Hare Krishna, thank you
Hare Krishna.
very much. I think it's time. More question? No. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Hare Krishna.